Eileen, yay. Okay, get back
So,
home.
Lisa, Melanie will be a few minutes late joining, but and Nathan's having some audio issues. Looks like he's logging out and logging back in. So as soon as he is on the call, you can call the meeting to order, or if you want to wait a few more minutes, we're still expecting Melanie to join late. And I think that's it. Jeff
Okay.
cannot join today.
Okay, well, it is 3:30 actually now. Let's see here. I only see two people besides me.
Right.
I know
So
Nathan, yeah, so let's wait till Nathan is back so we have enough, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And Nathan, if you would try your audio and visual, that would be great.
I saw him for a sec. Let me get, where did that?
Ah.
Hi, Nathan, can you hear us?
Hey, yeah,
Yay,
sorry.
it worked. Great.
All right.
New computer.
Okay, no worries. I'm glad you're here. Let's see here. So are we ready, Eileen?
We are.
All right. I call this meeting to order. Good afternoon and it's March 1st. So because of COVID, I have to read this intro. So due to the provisions of the governor's executive orders in 2520 and in 2920, which suspend certain requirements of the Brown Act and the order of health officer of the County of Sonoma to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID. The Art and Public Places Committee will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom webinar. Committee members and staff are participating from remote locations and or participating appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak during item number 3, public comment, or during our comment hearing items will be able to do so by utilizing the raise hand feature or by pressing *9 on their phone, and then they will be given the ability to address the committee. The recording secretary will take roll.
Chair Fuentes?
Right.
Okay.
Present.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Here.
Member Azarian?
Present.
Thank you. Member Baumgartner, sorry.
Present.
And Member Nathanson is not present today.
And Member Jones
Oh
Carter.
my goodness, I'm so sorry. Member Jones Carter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, she just joined us. She had to miss all the beginning of my stuff. And then Tara, did you have an announcement?
Yes, thank you. Before we get started, I would just like to acknowledge Monica Bryant, whose term recently ended on the committee. I want to thank her for her over 4 years of service and recognize her for her support of the arts in Santa Rosa and in the community. So on behalf of the Public Art Program and the Art and Public Places Committee with the City of Santa Rosa, thank you, Monica, for your service.
Thanks, Tara. Okay. So we're going to move on to, Eileen already did roll call, so we'll move on to public comments. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please select the raise hand button. If you are dialing via phone, please press *9, raise your hand. Each speaker has 3 minutes. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. Please make sure to mute yourself when you're invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of the countdown. Do we have any comments from the public who wish to make comments?
We
On
do
the-
not have any raised hands at this time.
Let's see here. If there are no public comments, then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next item. Approval of minutes. Copies of February 1st, 2021 meeting minutes have been distributed for your review. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes?
No.
If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Hold on. I have a correction. I noted that my last name was spelled wrong under committee member reports. So that was all.
I will make that correction.
Thank you.
So do I have a motion to approve minutes with the Kristen, with Vice Chairs, Kristen Kupfer's corrections?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Great. All in favor? Okay, approved as minute meetings are approved with the correction.
Aye.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that. Moving on to the next item, Schedule 5. Number 5, scheduled items, and we have 5.1, and that's going to be the 21-22 annual work plan and recommendation expenditure. Tara will be presenting the draft annual work plan, and this expenditure plan will be for the next fiscal year, July 1st, 2021. Tara?
Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to share my screen so that we can follow along with the document that was attached to the agenda, which is the annual work plan and recommended expenditure plan for the year 2021-22. So hold on one moment while I share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay, thank you. So this is typical for the public art program in the beginning of a new calendar year to start planning for the next fiscal year, which runs July 1 through June 30th, in terms of what the public art program, Art and Public Places Committee will be working on for that year, and the anticipated expenditures to go along with implementing that work plan. This year is a little bit different because we recently endeavored to draft and then subsequently adopt a new strategic plan for the next 4 years. So you will see that obviously reflected in this plan, but I'd like to go through a little bit of the process and then the individual line items that are in this draft work plan and expenditure plan, and then answer any questions that you might have about that or the dollar amounts. Like I said, typically early in the year, we go through a process of kind of looking at what we may be doing, what funds we have, and what projects or opportunities to focus on for that next year. And sometimes that includes input from the community. Sometimes that includes input from different opportunities across the city organization in terms of large scale capital projects where art could be included, or partnerships with other divisions or departments. So this year, like I said, is different because there's a newly adopted strategic plan for the public art program, which really directs our operations for the next 4 years and lays out the recommended expenditures or anticipated expenditures to implement the plan. So number 1 on this work plan is the first full fiscal year implementation of our strategic plan, with the recommended expenditures along with that. The main 4 categories that our strategic plan kind of grouped items in are community engagement and input, governance and administration, programming and projects, and PR and marketing. And under each of those are generally or essentially a summary of the types of things we would be doing in the implementation of this first year of the plan. So you will also notice some asterisks by some of the items. And so I wanted to call out and explain how we have kind of combined this overview of our annual work plan and the strategic plan with our normal operations and those expenses. So each year, the public art program has certain expenses for sculpture and public art program, or I should say public art collection maintenance of our collection. We have expenses for ongoing contractors or consultants or temp employees. We have expenditures for regularly scheduled or anticipated projects, grants, commissions that aren't specified at the time, but we know we want to spend a certain amount of money on projects each year. And so that generally those are shown here with the asterisks, and those are recurring costs that we already had in the public art program. They're built into this plan this way so that you can see the whole picture of what type of work we will be doing in the next year. The reason that they that you may notice that this number of the total recommended expenditures for this next fiscal year is maybe different from what you saw in our strategic plan, which summarized year by year expenses for the public art program to implement the strategic plan. This is that amount for the fiscal year 21-22 combined with those regular expected kind of recurring expenses. So because what the strategic plan did was essentially only put in additional costs to what the program already had. That's what it is showing will the implementation plan for the strategic plan only calculated additional costs over and above what we were already doing to run the program. So that's why those numbers are a little bit different, and I can kind of go through in that in more detail if needed. But I wanted to call that out to be transparent on that. You know, the projects that are called out here under programming and projects, there's a lot of projects that we're going to try to undertake this next year. I think a lot of them will be things that are done with partnerships. That's called out as one of our approaches, obviously. But we have our ongoing maintenance there. We have commissions and grants to artists, which essentially serves the purpose of the projects, the actual public art projects we would be doing. It has the outsourced work, meaning our contractors built into it, as well as our ongoing maintenance. So that's really the main part, the main emphasis of this annual work plan. But in addition to that, I wanted to briefly touch on a couple other items that are included. Under number 2, artists and city planning and projects. This actually was included on last year's work plan, but last year's work plan was really hindered by the pandemic starting shortly thereafter, or yeah, shortly thereafter. So, so there was not much movement on this item last fiscal year, although now we're starting those conversations. So I included it on this year's, or I should say next year's annual work plan, so that we can really consider these as priority items to consider in the public art program's participation. So the 2 specific items that I feel like are really realistic goals and projects for us to be involved in some way, even if we don't know exactly how yet, are the 2 that are listed there. The general plan update that the city is just now starting, which is a process that will essentially create a new general plan for the city. A general plan is a policy guiding document that looks at the city's future over the next 20 years. And so we're talking to the team with the city that is spearheading that effort and figuring out how we could bring an artist on board to be a part of the process of writing and developing that plan, and also what public art and engagement opportunities there may be in that process. And then the other opportunity is for the San Rosa Avenue Corridor Plan implementation. That is a plan the city's had for quite some time, and we have an estimated timeline of that beginning in the spring of 2022. And so there's an opportunity for an artist to come on board, potentially to be a part of the design team and or to be included in designing or providing input for artistic components of that plan. So there's a variety of amenities that will be a part of that project that may include benches or bike racks or crosswalk art, but there's also mural opportunities potentially at the Highway 12 overcrossing. So those are two projects that I feel are deserving of the public art program's involvement in a way that I think is exciting for the program to consider having an artist be brought on board as part of the team in the development of projects. But we don't have a clear yet idea on exactly how that will look, what funding would be needed. So I hope to bring back to this committee more concrete proposals for both of those things as we move forward, but I wanted to make sure they are included on this work plan. The remaining items on the list, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are all in progress projects that will continue through this next annual work plan period. And they include the Imagine Art in Old Courthouse Square project, the 5th Street Parking Garage project, the Depot Park Public Art project, and returning the Asawa art panels to Courthouse Square. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Do any committee members have questions for Tara regarding this item? If so, please physically raise your hand. And just a reminder, at this point, it's questions only, no discussion. Melanie?
Oh, within a category, so you have a heading like programming and projects, 187,500. So how do we know what's in each one of those little bullet points? Or is it money that can move around, or how does that work?
Yeah, good question. You can look at, let's see if I have it open. You can look at our strategic, can you still see my window? Did it switch to this other document? Okay, thanks. If you look at the strategic plan, in the back of the document, there's the implementation plan. And then there's one of the documents is the expenditure implications. And you can look through there to see where those dollar amounts are going to show up. Like, for instance, conduct a public art audit is budgeted at $25,000 for this next year. So that would be this first bullet point line item, and so on and so on. So you can find the numbers within the strategic plan document, and then some of the items were not included. The line item is included in the strategic plan, but the dollar amount is not, because like I said before, the strategic plan only captured new costs above and beyond what we already anticipate each year. And so you won't see those. So for instance, ongoing maintenance is about $50,000 a year, and commissions and grants to artists is about $50,000 a year. So, so I can provide the committee with a detailed breakdown of that if you'd like to see that, but it's all there in various places.
A follow-up question. So is it your feeling that we would approve this today, or do we have some time to review this?
The request is for this to be approved today, since we are putting in our budget requests to the city to go through the budget process. However, if the committee needs more time and isn't comfortable with approving it today, we can make accommodation for that. Oh, Lisa, you're on mute.
unmute. There we go. Sorry. I thought I saw some other hands. Do we have other questions?
Yeah. I
Um,
wondered, can I talk? Yeah,
Oh, yes.
can only see you a little bit. I was curious about you bringing in the art opportunities for artists to come on both those projects to advise and to have input in design, which I love that. I wondered, is there money included for that already, or would the money have to be, and are the other people that are involved, is their funding also included in here, or who are the other people that are involved in planning?
Yeah, that's a good question. And essentially, no, the answer is no to basically both of those. We don't know what funding is yet available, and from the kind of host departments that are running the projects. And we have not included the funding in this work plan and expenditure plan.
Okay.
There are potentially some available funds from those host departments or through grants. And potentially the kind of public art fund reserves, what we have in the bank, so to speak, could be allocated for those future projects.
Can I follow up with a question? Just in this, how these things work with me not knowing, when you're bringing an artist in, and like I'm asking about the other people that are on the commission or already doing the work or slated from other departments, assuming they're not design people, is it a request to be, or is like, who grants that kind of access and also weight of decision-making to that artist voice?
Yeah, we don't fully know that structure yet. One of the ideas that we have is to structure both projects, but in particular the general plan, as somewhat of an artist in residence type of program, where the artist is in residence with the city of Santa Rosa for the purpose of working on that project. But what that looks like and what structure we create for that is, we would essentially be starting from scratch. There are some great examples from other cities and other organizations who have done similar type projects that we would be looking at. But yes, we would be creating everything fresh for us here.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, could you just tell us a little bit more about the Depot Park Public Art?
Yeah, so the Depot Park project was started, I believe, 3.5 years ago. And there was funds set aside for an artist to come in and work with, work in conjunction with some planned refreshing of the landscape there that the Parks Department was going to be doing. And so we have a current contract with an artist to put in a piece of art in that space. But because of the kind of the work needing to be done in conjunction with the landscaping was held up due to some plans needed to be drawn up for the actual landscaping and any changes to the site. And then unfortunately, we just got hit with fires and the pandemic, and it really slowed down any work that could be done on the park itself. So we still have an interest from that neighborhood, from the Railroad Square Association, from the Parks Department, and from the artists to continue working on this project. So we have just restarted some conversations about how we might move forward now. I don't have much more to report
Okay, thanks.
than that today.
Tara, just so I can be correct, so the funds have already been set to the side and they are not included in this, correct?
Correct, that is correct.
Okay, for that one. Okay. And do I have anyone else have any questions for Tara?
Kristen, looks like she has her hand up.
Thanks,
Okay.
Tara.
Oh, she's not even, okay, I didn't even see her on here. Sorry about that.
First off, it's more of a housekeeping item. Just correction of a spelling error. I believe under PR and marketing, that third bullet point is supposed to be launch,
launch.
social media, not
Yes, indeed.
launch.
Thank you. But you don't know what launching a social media account?
I mean, I might not be up on the new hip lingo, but my next question had to do with under the programming and projects aspect. I know that it's really dog-earing that money so that, you know, we could have further dedication as needed. But the partnerships, that bullet point was a little broad for me. So I just wanted to understand what could fit into that bucket, essentially. And if that is, I've heard before from partnerships that we've had with Creative Sonoma, and I kind of wondered if that would be an ongoing annual amount, but I didn't see a bullet point next to it. So if it was kind of building off of that and expanding, or if you had a new idea for the partnerships there.
You know, I think that, let me pull this out so I can try to answer that. Hold on one second. Oops. Okay. The partnerships that are called out here are really referencing the strategic plan's reference to partnerships. So
Okay.
if you look at the strategic plan, let me find it. There's partnerships show up quite a bit in our strategic plan, knowing that it helps us leverage our resources by joining forces with others. So I believe under there's a few places where it shows up, like I just said, but I believe under, I'm trying to find the right section. Just hold on one second. Yeah, so if you're looking at the strategic plan here, why don't I put this back up on my screen here? Okay, can you see that now? Under goal 2, neighborhoods are infused with art and community leaders across the city champion arts programming. Under strategy A, bring art into areas of the city. Then tactic 2, leverage partnerships to increase impact. That's where that $10,000 shows up, which is what that line item is on our annual plan. And really, I think that is calling out to make sure that we are doing what it takes to partner with organizations that can help us in this area. And that may mean that we have projects that we're partnering on, but it may mean that relationship building to establish those partnerships as well. So there's a couple places in this plan where partnerships are called out, and the relationship building that goes along with that, with some dollar amount behind it, knowing that we want to make sure that we are providing adequate support to make sure that will happen. So if that's costs for hosting meetings, or if that's costs for making sure that people can participate in the types of activities that we're planning with that partner, we want to make sure that there's funds for that. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah, and just further kind of stated that this is a again, dog earing of money that will be allocated towards a use that we have set aside in our specific plan that isn't fully defined yet. So there's flexibility with those dollars.
Yes, very well stated. So essentially all of these things, with a very, very few exceptions, are new expenditures, new programs, new items that will need development. And so when there's a project that will be coming back, or a structure for how we might be doing partnerships, those things will be coming back to the committee, and potentially will be addressed perhaps through subcommittee work with the committee, or other types of engagement, so that we can get those things developed.
Great. And I had one more question. When we are talking about the goals of including an artist in with the general plan team, or with the implementation strategies for the Santa Rosa Avenue corridor plan, who do you think would be most relevant to send sorry, I'm getting feedback. To send recommendations for where we would like to see an artist's input at that stage. You know, if we really like, I just think about other general plans that I've seen and I was like, oh, it was great when an artist had input at this stage. If I want to share that with the city, who should I send that information to?
You know, I don't know. That's a good question. I think that right now we're in the very early conversation phase, just with the key staff who are leading the project. And I think there'll be a lot of opportunity for public input as the plan goes forward. At this point, I would encourage you to work with me as we are drafting our potential framework for how an artist can be included in this. And
Okay.
so there will be more opportunity for the committee to provide that input, as well as perhaps a subcommittee, like I said. So I think that right now, I mean, you are welcome to go. They have a website. They have a great website. It's called santarosaforward.com. That is the new website for the general plan. And there may be information on there about getting involved just as a member of the public. But like I said, I would encourage you and any other committee members to work with the process that I hope to be leading to develop this component of it, and then sharing how we may move forward from there.
Great, thank you.
No, Melanie? I
So
think
what's
Melanie-
our budget year? When does it go from?
What was that, budget year? Is that what you asked? Oh, Melanie, are you there? I think she asked the budget year, which is July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Did you get that, Melanie? Was that your
Yes.
question? Okay,
Can
you
you hear
froze
me?
for a second. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, so July 1 to July 1 of 22, is that right?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. So what something that shows up in 22 on the strategic plan, why, like the public art audit is showing up in 22. So why do we have all the $25,000 in there in that? Yeah.
Yeah, so this shows you that when we were putting together potential costs for this, we split it up over 2 fiscal years, knowing that there's probably a part A and a part B to the
Mhm.
work that needs to be done. And so over in the notes, we noted that potential costs would include, you know, resources to support an actual audit, but then also opportunity and implementation support. So we divided that up over 2 years.
Okay, thank you. This is just questions, not discussion, right? That's what you told me. Okay.
Exactly. Do we have any other questions?
I do.
Oh, yes.
Tara, is it possible with like partnerships and those kind of things that we would be developing? Do those have to just be individuals or arts professionals, or can we partner with schools and other kinds of public or private, I guess they could be, bodies with a variety of ages and generations, or even senior type things?
Yeah, I think all and above are opportunities. I think in general, our past partnerships have been with organizations, either nonprofit or for-profit businesses, and mainly focused on, you know, providing services to the community or doing a project that we can leverage our resources to achieve. So, but I think looking even beyond that and looking through the lens of really what we talk about in our strategic plan, in terms of bringing arts to folks that maybe have not had the same access previously, and distributing some of our concentrated efforts away from core places like downtown that has seen a lot of art, and reaching out to other parts of the city. So I think that will help direct the types of organizations and folks we would want to start partnering with.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing, if there's no other questions at this moment, I'll just share. I forgot to add in some of the background for our the Public Art Fund itself and the where is it? And just so you know, kind of like the patterns of our kind of revenue that come in each year, as well as kind of what our anticipated balance is of the Public Art Fund as we start this next year. So right now, our anticipated balance of the Public Art Fund by the end of this year, so by June 30th, 2021, is looking to be about $790,000. That kind of goes along with the revenue we see come in over the last few years. Are fees from in lieu payments. So developers who opt to place artwork on site do not pay into the in lieu fee, but they also have the option to pay their same requirement as a fee to the city's Public Art Fund. Those in lieu revenues have been between 65 and 75,000 each year for the past few years. And then the Public Art Fund also receives 1% of our capital improvement projects, city funded capital improvement projects and park development fees. And those have ranged between, well, right around 35 to 40,000 each year for the last few years. There's exceptions to that. So like when we do a large project like Courthouse Square, sometimes those funds come in separately from that project's 1% amount. So sometimes there's an anomaly kind of where one year we'll get $100,000 more than our average because of that special project. So the way that generally our outlook is for the next 4 years as we're implementing this plan, we have a relatively healthy reserve in our Public Art Fund. We have, modest revenue coming in, but there's kind of an expectation that we will need to be using some of the reserves each year to implement our strategic plan. So, each year I'll be reporting back kind of that same information so kind of where our balance ends up. But that is just a kind of bigger picture view of how the budgeting looks. Looks like Nathan, you had another question?
Is there a way to access kind of information about those in lieu arrangements, or do those need to be made privately with the developer in advance of any kind of city hearing?
So the way that program works, the Art and Public Places Committee is not involved for the most part with that program and with how that works. A developer who has a project that meets the criteria for needing to fulfill the art requirement, which that criteria is that it has to be a commercial project. So excluding residential, excluding industrial, with a valuation, total construction cost or project valuation of $500,000 or more. And then they receive that information usually in the planning stage of their project as to what they receive the information as to that we have a requirement and what their options are. And it's usually not until right around the time that they want to receive their building permit that they would then decide if they want to find an artist to do artwork on site for their project or if they want to pay the in lieu fee instead.
But the APPC has no role in sort of facilitating those kinds of things. I'm trying to get a sense of, sort of within the purview of my role as a committee member, if like how I can sort of broaden the pool of applicants to these, opportunities.
Yeah. So the thing with the private development projects is the city has very little to do with the selection of the artist for those projects. It's not a city project. So the developer can hire any artist they want as long as they meet the criteria that's stated in city code.
Right.
Or they can purchase an already made piece of art as long as it meets the criteria in the code. So very rarely is there a call for artists that developer issues for their projects. Sometimes they do that. That's not to say nobody does. Sometimes that does happen, but it's not the norm in most cases.
And just to be totally clear, there aren't any calls for submissions right now through the city for projects,
There is
things
for
that I
our
could
park,
send out.
yeah, for our 5th Street parking garage
Okay.
project. That's
Oh,
in
okay.
all right now
Gotcha.
with the deadline coming up in March.
Oh, okay. Thanks. That's all I wanted to know.
You're muted, Lisa.
Good. Thank you, Melanie. Do I have any other questions from committee members? If not, then Eileen, do we have any public comment regarding this item?
Yes, we do. Mr. Eric Fraser, I'm going to go ahead and allow him to talk. And Mr. Fraser, I will be sharing a screen for you in just one moment. Mr. Fraser, if you could just confirm that your audio is working and that you're able to see the timer and introduce yourself if you so choose.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Sound good?
Perfect.
Oh, you sound perfect.
Thank you.
Hello,
Thank
Mr.
you so
Fraser.
much. Thank you. Yes, Eric Fraser with Greater Cherry Street Neighborhood Association. Of course, we're all excited to see what projects materialize for the southwest corner of the 5th Street parking garage. And we're wondering if it's going to be complementary to the neighborhood mural that's on the northwest corner of the parking garage. But I did have some questions just about the budgeting process. So looking at the strategic plan, we do note that the public art audit is funded coming up here. And we want to, and reading over that general plan, we got the sense that the definition of art is sort of expanding and should expand to include all sorts of different types of art assets. We're wondering if that includes like architectural assets and natural assets. So for instance, our neighborhood, as well as a lot of neighborhoods that ring the downtown, have an exceedingly high biodiversity scale where you can see, multiple types of trees and flora. Is that a consideration from an artistic or from an art inventory point of view? And the same with historic sources of historic structures and things of that nature. I'm hoping to see a more integrated approach. I know that there was a little bit of friction that we had just in trying to understand our, through the eyes of our neighborhood association with the execution of the mural that we have on the 5th Street parking garage. It never seemed to show up in any type of registry to direct people into our neighborhood to see the public art that's abundant here, including the artwork that's on the junior high school, as well as Hugh Futrell's murals on his buildings and so on and so forth. And so we want to make sure that that audit includes all this artwork or all these things that are valuable to our quality of life within this art audit going forward. So that's really important. The other issue that I wanted to bring forward was just this question about your PR and marketing efforts. I noticed that the strategic plan calls for a pretty comprehensive, meaning that an omni-channel type of an approach. But yet I see in the budget approval that you're really talking about social media and website and stuff like that. Obviously, it's good to have, it's essential to have a good website. Social media, though, only reaches a small percentage of people. And so we really rely on that print media product to inform people. Perhaps by way of strategic partnerships, you'll be able to do a little bit more omni-channel marketing outreach. Thank you. That's all for my comments today. I appreciate your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser.
Mr. Fraser. Tara?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Did you have any response or would you like, should we move on? Oh, did I?
Tara's on mute.
I'm sorry. If the committee members would like me to address any of the questions that the member of the public asked, I'm happy to attempt to do so, or you can move on to your comments.
Okay. The only one that he did bring up the architecture, which that would be with the Cultural Heritage Committee, if I'm correct.
Well, I think the question was, will architecture be included in the audit that we're doing? Our audit has not been fully developed yet in terms of how we want to approach that, but the intention is to look citywide at all public art that has been done and using a broader lens to define public art. So we want to get a sense of where all of the art is in public art is in Santa Rosa, whether it was city funded or not. So it would include community murals that were done outside of the public art program. I do believe it would also address ongoing performances or cultural activities, traditions, things like that, that are not necessarily traditionally included, have been traditionally included in our audit or inventory before, and other types of public art meant for public consumption in public places. So architecture we have not addressed or decided whether or not that would be included. If we do include that, yes, we would definitely want to work with the Cultural Heritage Board or others to make sure we have the information we need.
Nathan?
Just out of curiosity, who's tasked with settling those questions of definition?
Probably myself. I'd be happy to work with the committee, and perhaps this is another opportunity for a subcommittee to do some work on this project. That's one of the next things once we get this annual plan approved, is to start talking about how the committee wants to be involved with working on these projects, and subcommittees might be a way to move forward with that.
And it's just one more sort of broad point of clarification. How are subcommittees formed?
I think we would be creating what we want for this committee. This committee, the general rule is for a subcommittee that includes members of a city board, commissioner, committee, is that there usually are just two members of that committee, of the larger committee of APPC on a subcommittee, so as not to run into any quorum issues or Brown Act violations. But whether or not it's a working committee with staff and committee members, or if it also includes members of the public or other members of boards and commissions, those are things we have not determined. And I would be looking to see how other groups function and see if there's some good models we can look at for that.
And you're tasked with kind of establishing those groups and organizing.
I would definitely be involved with that. And I think to kick off the conversation more so, perhaps at the next meeting, I would be happy to bring back a variety of options or structures that the city has used already that perhaps we could look at and then get committee input at that time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. And did you, Kristen?
I would, so to follow up with Nathan's comments, I would be interested in hearing just some lessons learned or success stories from other boards about breaking down into subcommittees and maybe working with other boards. I know, just thinking about the Cultural Heritage Board, they have a very strict adherence to identifying buildings that are within a period of significance. And so that is pretty clearly defined, but I know that the Cultural Heritage Board is undergoing a survey of all of their properties within the downtown. And so I would like for our committee to be aware of that when it is finalized, because it could have impact on how we think about art and potential locations, or how we talk about art within the downtown as a destination.
Lisa, you're muted.
Yeah.
Am I still muted? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks, Kristen. Do any of the members have any other questions? All right. So we can move on. And do I have a motion to approve the 2021, 2022?
Wait,
Oh, you have a question first? Or are you, I just need to finish.
okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, no.
Well,
Let's see.
just to clarify, so a motion needs to be on the table and then discussion can occur.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tara. So is there a motion to approve the 2021, 2022 annual work plan and recommended expenditure plan?
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
A second.
Nathan, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead. We can have our discussion is now open for this item, and committee members wishing to comment or discuss, please physically raise your hand. Melanie.
So it would be helpful for me to have the strategic plan lined up with the budget so we can, I mean, I know the document is there, but so that we can see them, you know, all at the same time as a resource for me anyway. And I know we've done this in the past really quickly, but it's helpful for me to get the information in advance so that I can review it and then, you know, have an opportunity to approve it. So that's something I'm hoping to see.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. And anyone else? Kristen? No? All right. Okay, so let's go ahead, and if there's nothing more that we're discussing, I would like to call a vote to approve the 2021 annual work plan and recommendation expedited plan as presented. All in favor?
Right.
Got Nathan, Kristen. Okay. Any opposed? Do you oppose or abstain?
Yes.
Oppose?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have enough to pass, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I
Well,
couldn't
and
see
just to be clear, that it's a question of sort of waiting to see the document.
For me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that seems reasonable to me.
Yeah. So the motion passes with, that was, I didn't see everybody. I'm sorry. Eileen?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I'll just do a quick roll call. Vice Chair Kiefer?
Yes, aye.
Okay. Member Baumgarten?
Aye.
Member Jones Carter?
Sorry.
You just would say, if you're opposed, you would just say nay. Member Jones
Nay.
Carter? And Member Asdarian?
Aye.
Thank you. So the motion passes.
And did you call Chair Puentes?
Oh, I am so sorry. Chair Fuentes. Of course.
Aye.
Okay. So the motion passes.
I would be happy to provide that documentation that you're seeking, Melanie, so that I can share that with the rest of the committee as well, so you can see
Okay.
those numbers lining up.
I'd
Okay.
like to see them also. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course, I can send that.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's see here. So next item on the agenda, 5.2, project updates, and Tara will present updates on the current project.
Okay, I just have a few very brief updates today. Obviously, we've been busy with lots of things, but just to give you the latest information about the Imagine Art in Old Courthouse Square project, we are still working to finalize the artist services agreement with the selected artist for that project, and to make sure that that's approved along with all of her insurance documents. Then the call for artists for the 5th Street parking garage is still open. The deadline to apply is March 15th. We have a direct URL set up for that if you'd like to share with anyone. It is srcity.org/5th Street Garage Art. Our regular scheduled conservation and maintenance is continuing with some regular cleaning and waxing of some bronzes we have in our collection, including Daphne at City Hall. We are also cleaning the Hangover 2 piece in Juilliard Park, which was tagged recently and also has a lot of bird droppings on it. One of the exciting things that comes out of shelter in place and all the fun virtual world we live in now is that we have transitioned our annual National Arts Program to an online virtual format this year. So the 18th annual National Arts Program in Santa Rosa is online. You can check it out on the Inside Out There website. You can find it from the main page of insideoutthere.com, or you can go directly to the page by going to insideoutthere.com/national-arts-program. So Jessica Rasmussen, our contractor who does all of our citywide arts programming, has taken this on, and we received, I believe, a little over 200 participants this year. I think there's actually 198 actual participants. So each artist submitted a digital image. It is all up on the website, organized by classification, ranging from professional artists to youth artists. There are also this year's award winners listed on the page, which go first place, second place, third place in each classification, as well as a Best of Show award and an education award for a youth entry. We are not having our traditional awards ceremony like we normally do, but we are trying to figure out some online offerings that we could provide while the show is up for the next 2 months, whether that's some kind of like artist talk back or panel discussion with the award winners. I would also like to thank Anne, our new committee member, for being one of the judges this year. She worked with fellow judge Rima Markian to look at all of the entries and come up with the award recipients. So thank you, Anne, for your participation.
You're welcome. It was fun.
I believe those are all of my updates for today.
Can I have one question?
You're muted again, Lisa. But yeah, sure, Anne.
The question was on the 5th Street parking garage. I remember we were talking about it before, that you wanted Sonoma County artists, and I had someone from the Bay Area that asked me about it. Not even knowing I was on this committee, just if I knew anything about if we would be supporting people that actually could drive here to work on it, but wouldn't need, I knew lodging was an issue, didn't want to supply that. I just wanted to know, are they going to find?
Yeah, the eligibility is North Bay, I think it says Northern California. So it's pretty broad. It's not just Sonoma County. We were encouraging Sonoma County artists to apply, but it's open to a much broader regional area.
Awesome. Sure. Thank you.
Go ahead and move on. Okay. So let's see here. That's number 6, committee member reports. Do any committee members wish to make a report at this time? If so, please raise your hand. Any reports out there? All righty. Then we'll just move on to department reports. Tara, do we have anything for department reports?
I do not have any tonight. Thank you.
All righty. So there's none for there. Then that means an adjournment. So the next regular meeting of the Art and Public Places Committee is scheduled for, wait a minute here. What was that date? We should have had that right on there. And that was, got that.
I believe the next meeting would be April 5th.
Okay. There we go. April 5th. I just wanted to make sure that that was it. I should have had that on there. Okay, so we got April 5th, 2020, and it will be at 3:30. Meeting is now adjourned.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it was good to see
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Oh, you know what? I did have a question. Other than Melanie, I don't know if we can ask you or not, or what Melanie was regarding. I was slightly confused and it just came to me after. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask it now since the meeting is adjourned and stuff, but what it was when Melanie was asking for the breakdown, was she referring to what we received on Thursday or Wednesday from Eileen or the other person that was there? The draft?
I understood that you were requesting additional information so you could compare the strategic plan,
Correct.
budget estimates, hand in hand or line in line with
Correct.
expenditure plan, which I can provide and send to the committee. My only question is whether or not I'll be able to provide that to you as a follow-up to this meeting and attach it to this meeting's minutes, or if we have to wait until the next public meeting to share it, because it has to be available to the public as well. So I will find that out and let you know when I can get it to you.
Okay.
That be broken down up by dates too, or just by when or just by projects? Because I know we
So
had
the
our
date,
plan,
the date would be just for this fiscal year, one fiscal year at a time.
but it won't be broken down within that year and months or anything else.
We don't
Okay.
have that information yet because we don't know
Right.
the timeline for each project.
Okay, I probably figured that. So, yes. Okay. Coolio. That's good then.
Okay,
All
thanks
righty.
everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.